Time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by thedartzone.com. Stay in the zone. TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
How's it going?
Another Wednesday. Good. How are you?
Good. November 27th.
Thank you. 2013 still.
Yes,
for another
still.
30-some days, 34 days, whatever.
Close.
Steve Pananciano with Mystery Mark, brought to you by The Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. And right off the bat, I got to say, I come back from New Orleans, on Tuesday after a 19-hour ride on the city of New Orleans. It was good. It was good. I mean, it was better than I expected.
Did you guys have a cabin, or did you just sit in a...
No. We sat in coach, which was kind of like a bit like a Greyhound bus. There were a lot of people sacked out. But, I mean, the chairs are almost like easy chairs. They got little foot thingies that come up, and they recline, and like maybe 5 times the legroom, 6 times the legroom of an airplane. It's got like 2 outlets in every row. There's only 2 seats in a row. There's 2 outlets there, so I had the laptop going. I watched 10 episodes of West Wing.
Okay.
And some Joni Mitchell and a Jim Croce CD that I had. I just kind of grabbed through in the backpack. And, kind of snoozed a little bit here and there. And, there was rumors that people were bringing alcohol on the train. Now, I didn't really see any of that, but, you don't have to drive.
You can always drink on the train.
No, it was great. It was like, we looked at it as a matter of we were planning on driving down there anyway, and when it turns out that it's only 3 hours longer to take the train,
right,
and only about, $60 person, whatever it was, more than how we figured fuel and stopping on the road and everything.
If you drove,
we were
right.
Well, that's a no-brainer. And then, shout out to George Hams, picked us up from the train station, and, we're talking about, we have to go to Cafe Le Monde. He's like, what for? I'm like, well, I have to have beignets. I've never had a beignet. He's like, oh, well, you don't want to go there. You want good beignets,
You got
right?
a better spot for you?
Takes us to some local place in Metairie that's been there since the turn of this last century. It's been there 100 years. You can see them making the beignets. I mean, they got this huge metal roller. Is that what you call it? Rolling pin.
Yes.
Rolling pin. Huge
Rolling
metal
pin,
rolling pin
right.
on this huge, stainless steel counter with all this dough and everything. And he's like, well, we were ordering coffee. He's like, no, you got to have it with hot chocolate. Okay. So they bring out Swiss Miss.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even stirred. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not sure how this is going to work out. So I'm over there stirring. These beignets come out. They're so incredibly good. I'm just do you usually just sit here and eat 2 dozen of these things? I mean, they were just the best. They were just the best. So thanks to George. I forget the name of the place. It's some local thing. It's open 24 hours.
If you need to know, just call George.
Yeah, call George. But
he'll let you know.
George was great. He also took us to a local Metairie, because George is from there.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of knew the lay of the land and everything. He didn't take us out to, where you go catch gators and stuff. But he had some interesting stories. Walking around in the 9th Ward selling water moccasins to gangbangers or something. I'm like, what? No, so they take the venom out and then put them on sticks and poke each other.
Object?
I'm like, I don't think it works that way, but okay. It's kind of strange. No, but he took us to third base. I met Scott Wollaston's brother,
Really?
who's a regular there. Yeah. And he's, kind of he looks like Scott. He's got a Saints jersey that says Wollaston on the back because, we got in Thursday. So Thursday night, there's a Saints game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's go to a local place, see the Saints play. La-di-da. I had a great time. Oh, great dart bar. It's got 8 wall-mounted boards, little Dartmaster score things, and ended up playing with one of the local guys. He's like, hey, you want to play? I'm like, yeah, sure, because I figured I need to tune up a little bit, Played hour, 20 minutes straight with the guy, just 01, alternate start, boom, 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 boom. I was like, well, this is great. You know, going to a local place and here's a guy that wants to bang the board with you. I'm like, this
Nice.
is all right with me. Yeah. No, so the train was, the train was
Was
good.
he any good?
Yeah, he's a good player. You know, he was telling it's weird when you talk to darters how they look at the game, and he was talking to he's struggling with consistency, which we all do.
Yeah,
right.
of course. Right.
Which was like why this was like the greatest tournament in the world because I had to play Danny Delfino, so we decided we were going to play on Saturday. We both had a bye out of the round robin. And I wasn't going to plan on playing the men's doubles, so I was basically free all day. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be a great tune-up. So I grabbed Ralph McCool, who has a new nickname, by the way. We'll get to that. Grabbed Ralph McCool, played 121 with him for like an hour, maybe longer. Took a break, played a little more, took a break, played a little more. So, I warmed up, and, I ended up playing 24 legs with Danny. And they streamed it all. And it's up on the internet,
Right.
so you could see it. So I'm like, this is what I've wanted for years. Is I've wanted to see myself play while I was playing, because one of the local Chicago guys that listens
makes
to the
no
show
sense.
now and then. Well, here's what I mean. We've had practice sessions where we've set up cameras so we could kind of look at ourselves and kind of see
Okay.
how we're doing. And I'm like, that's great. It's great to do that, but you have to see yourself performing under pressure to really see what it is you do.
Right.
And so not only did I get myself 24 legs to study of myself playing Danny, I'm not going to say much about the challenge match thing. Suffice it to say, I started ahead, and then my lead just kept growing and growing until it was pretty much inevitable.
Right.
He got to the point where he needed to win. What's 2 from 16?
It wasn't 16
He
to
needed
nothing,
to. He
though.
needed to.
No.
No, I lost like the second leg,
Oh.
and but it was 10-2. No, it was 12-2
Oh, okay.
at one point. So it was like he was struggling. He didn't start out really good, and then he'd throw a good leg and miss a double, and I played okay. Actually, thanks Smurf if you're in the chat room for the stats. I averaged a little under 80 for the entire match, and I watched part of it, and I was like, wow, I missed a lot of doubles. So I think I scored okay. Overall, it was kind of strange.
You seem to be having that a lot.
What's
Every
that,
time we
missing
talk
doubles?
about how a tournament went, you seem to miss a lot of doubles lately.
Well, I blame it on the equipment changes I've made. Oh, which is what I wanted to start with. I get home from New
Oh,
Orleans.
how about a disclaimer before you go any further?
Okay, disclaim away. Here you go, Spartha.
The views, opinions, rants, and rampages expressed on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect individually or collectively those of our sponsors, co-sponsors, wannabe hosts, hearing-impaired critics, or those with a penchant for attitudinal dysfunction. We at Dart Talk strive to provide you, the listener, with an educational, entertaining, and fun-filled experience each and every week. If after the show you, the listener, find yourself feeling uneducated, unentertained, and or bored, we at Dart Talk consider that your own problem.
Okay, so much for the
Perfect.
disclaimer.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I get home, and take the roller bags up and, negotiate the elevator and, high-rise living, right? And, I run down because there's a package, right? Sure enough, a huge thing from Cosmo,
All right.
right? I got, like, the cutting-edge shafts now. I have these titanium spinning shafts. I don't know, like, what they retail for, and I'm sure they're pricey, but I threw, like, for 5 minutes, and I was like, oh, yeah. These are going to work.
Even better.
Right, because, I love the carbon fiber. I love the carbon fiber shafts. I think they're like the best
Have you
thing.
got your redwood darts set where you want them now and everything?
Yes.
I mean,
well, that's the other thing is now, I have the redwood darts. I had to have the barrels made lighter so I could use them and make them interchangeable. So
Right.
I'm like, okay, it's kind of not exactly back to the drawing board, but I'm like, okay, now you have to take more weight off these barrels and you got to tap them out so you can put conversion points in there, right? So I just got the brand new Cosmo conversion points, so I put them on with the titanium shafts and boom, 1080. I'm like, this is all right, I mean, I only played for about 10 minutes, but I was like,
Right.
okay, these
But
things
you're
are
happy.
flying really well. Well, I'm inspired. This was the most inspiring dart tournament I've ever been to. Like leaving a tournament, even though I didn't, I kind of blew it and kind of played like a bit of a
Ass.
I don't know. Well, I wasn't going to say that. I mean, I underperformed when I played Gary Moss, and I mean, I had a whack at 3 darts at 36 to go up a break at 3-1, totally whiffed. And
See, there you go, missing doubles again.
yeah, well, we're
saying.
going to work on that. I'm inspired to practice now. I basically haven't practiced in I don't know how long, like on a regular basis. So I think that's coming, and I may actually. We did a little redecorating.
Oh,
The
right.
beloved and myself. So it's possible I might have to get
You're
that
gonna actually
tripod
walk to
from
the
you.
dartboard now?
Well, I mean, it's possible I could set up like a camera and do like that webcam darts thing
okay.
from home.
Right.
Because it's too hard to come into the studio and do it, right? Which was originally
Especially
kinda
since we
what I
don't have a
wanted to do.
dartboard hung up here.
Right. Well, anyway, we're just rambling. We have results. We have all the results from the New World Dart Series number 3 tour stop in New Orleans. But the cool thing now is we can talk about matches, and you can actually see them on the line online. There's both the men's semis, both the women's and men's final are on there, and then there's like what they did was they pulled people out of the hall and like put featured matches on, like Darts Live has been doing. Just went great. And then after I got knocked
They
out,
could have built a stage.
well, no, well, I don't know if it was better or not, but what they did was they called it the Internet Alley. They got like a separate meeting room and set up all their cameras and their boom mics and their little Klieg lights and everything, and they put the matches they were going to stream in this one room. There wasn't a whole lot of places for the audience to sit. I don't know. There's like, how many people were watching me and Danny? I mean, people would kind of come in and out. And then people, they left the door open so you could actually stand outside the room and kind of still see what was going on.
Right.
There were people in the dart hall watching the match on their phones. So get this match with Danny has almost 1,000 views on the internet as we speak. And after the show, I will post links to all this stuff if you guys can't find it on live stream. I got to tell you, they did like such a phenomenal job. I mean, they had these high-def, expensive cameras in there, and they didn't really have enough people to do everything they wanted to do. So, I mean, there were some people like, oh, where are the updates and all this other stuff. And let me tell you, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people, I think, running full-time streaming and, 2 or 3 events at a time. They ran everything on time. They were very well prepared.
It's pretty good.
This was a model tournament, and I can't wait until we do another one. I mean, it's literally like they've got it now to the point where you can put on a first-class tournament in America and stream it to the entire world. Right? And there's no end to the possibilities of something like this because now, it's what I've always said. Players need something to play for. Now you play to get on the big stage, right? Now you play to get on TV. Now you play, you know what I'm saying? So we'll talk more about this. Are we due for a break? We got what?
Yeah, we got a couple minutes. You can keep rambling.
Well, like for instance, like this challenge match, with Danny.
Yeah.
I mean, they put some like kind of funny stuff. Danny's talked a lot of smack. It was friendly. I like Danny. And, some funny pictures were on Facebook about, who's going to beat who and, la-di-da-di-da-di-da. And I wasn't really at all worried. Because I figured, if I played my game, I'd get by him.
Right.
I had no illusions about beating him 16-0. Although when I was up like 11-1 or whatever it was, I was like, man, if only I wouldn't have blown the doubles in that first leg, I'd have a whack at 16-0. Right. But actually, we took a break every 7 legs. So I think I was up like 12-2 or something after the second break. And I don't know, I started feeling a little bit tired, and Danny really raised his game and started playing a lot better, and he won the next session, and it ended up 14-7. So that means he won the third session 5-2. So he was coming back. He just ran out of time.
Right.
What he needed was best of. Well, you do the math. I mean, he needed to play like best of like I don't know 45 or something.
Right. If he was he
whatever.
would have had to keep that up too, doing the same thing.
So I told him he could save his pennies and we could try again. But later on,
you let Smurf down.
Well, sorry, man. Later on, I started to think about it, and I think that eventually, because like which city had a stream on a board. in Atlantic City, they streamed matches from aboard. Right, the Sheltie guy was there, so he had kind of everything set up. Now, this was by far way better quality and a way more extensive thing where, they had putting names under people.
Yeah.
And I should apologize to Danny. If you guys go online and you watch my match with Danny Delfino, when his name comes up, it says Dead Money. The guy said, well, what's everybody's nicknames? And I'm like, well, you can just call me Dart Talk because, you're going to run out of room anyway because he had my whole last name on there. And the screen, even if you got a widescreen TV, I mean, it's only like this big. And he's like, what's the other guy's name? And I'm like, well, I don't know, Dead Money. So he put it down.
And it was posted.
So like every, 5-6 legs, it says Danny Delfino quotes Dead Money. And I'm like, oh, my God. So Danny's probably not going to want to watch this. But what I was thinking is at every turn, because there's more people watch this match than watch the other matches, right? There was more interest in it because we kind of promoted it as like a special, sort of exhibition.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord knows, $2,000 comes in handy, but, that wasn't really the real point to it. It was a proof of concept. This whole tournament has proven everything we've ever said on this show. So we'll take a break and we'll tell you why I said that. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mark, Steve, and we'll be right back. Okay, back for the second quarter of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor who apparently now has a Hemi-powered man van.
Does he really?
Yeah, I guess that's a good thing.
Okay.
It's kind of red.
What did he have before?
It got he had like some 4x4 thing that was like souped up and somebody ripped it off.
Oh,
No, you got a call
Nice.
from the police. Hey, I think we're chasing your car, but we're gonna have to break off because they're going too fast. And I'm like, oh, that's probably why they took it. So
All right.
he's got the man van going. So
That's
congrats to
interesting.
him. I don't know if he's in the chat room, but he posted pictures. He seems pretty happy about it.
did they recover the truck? You
no.
don't know. No? He was
never did.
gone. Oh,
Never did.
wow. All right.
So what are you gonna do? Sometimes the world
It didn't have his trailer with dart stuff
No.
at the end of it, did it?
No, no.
He was flying down the street.
No, it was just like, parked in his complex, and he went out there, and it was gone. Dude, where's my car? Where were we?
Oh.
What are we talking
We were
about?
talking about how excited you were about the streaming and everything. And
Well, yeah, well,
the
you saw it.
reasons-
What did you think?
Well, I liked it. It was good. I thought the quality was good. And
It was like watching TV,
Yeah.
wasn't it? I mean, it was
Yeah.
like, I think 1080p or something. I
yeah,
mean,
no,
I'm not
yeah, I thought the quality was
super
good, and you
technical,
could see what was going on, and it actually, there wasn't a lot of buffering going on or anything. It was just actually fluid.
Did you see the women's final?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
What I basically did was I volunteered to do commentary,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, "Sure, go on in there." So I sat down with Colin Cosell, who's I think pretty sure he's from New York,
Yeah.
and we kind of just huddled around this little monitor, and he's holding like a microphone that's not as good as ours. And
Okay.
he would talk, and then the players were like kind of complaining that we were too loud, so we're kind of talking like. In the
Did you have
golf
your own mic,
whisper.
or did you have a
No.
share mic?
No, so it was kind of like he'd go like this, and then I'd start talking, and he'd go like this, and then he'd go like. So we were kind of sharing. It was very awkward. I mean, I barely know the guy,
Yeah.
and I'm
And
pretty sure he doesn't like me.
You're
it wa-
sharing a mic. You just met him, and you're sharing a mic.
I know. Doesn't that seem wrong?
That seems a little out there. Yeah.
But I really started to enjoy it. So we
Sounded
did-
good.
What'd you think of the commentary?
I liked it. Yeah, I mean, it was fluid. You knew what you were talking about, and I mean, you could tell that there's times that like, he would try and fill in to say something. I mean, it's a dart match. You can't be talking the whole time, but he would seem to like have to say something. And
Well, you didn't see the one where I
But-
did talk through the whole match, but
no, I did not.
because it was weird. We did it like the PDC did it. So, we did the women's match, and they're like, "Hey, you want to do another one?" I'm like, "Hey, I'll do them all. This is fun,
Mm-hmm.
right?" I mean, I went down there, and I actually wanted to interview Soldier Gates and Sean Narain and a couple of these other guys because we got the end of the year awards coming up, in the next few weeks, and I wanted to get them, kind of sit down with them face to face a little bit, like I did with some of the people last year, like Tom Sawyer and Paula Murphy and stuff. But I really got into the commentary. It was like so much fun. And it was just kind of weird because the people who were actually playing sometimes could sort of hear us. And
Right.
at one point, he made something, and I just started laughing. And I'm like, oh, my God, they're going to hear that.
Yeah.
And if you're playing a dart match and somebody's in the next room talking about your dart match, that's got to add like a whole new level of...
Not only that, especially then if you hear him laugh.
That's what I mean. I mean, it's like... God forbid I did it right when they threw like a 7.
Yeah, exactly,
Right? I mean,
right.
they'd probably come in there and pummel me. Right? So, but that was really fun. And thanks, by the way, everybody, for the kind words. Got some compliments.
Yeah,
People
I mean-
enjoyed it. I always thought you needed commentary. Even when, I'm up watching these Starts Live matches and all you do is hear the board go beep, 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 beep. I think it's important to have somebody up there talking. That's why I said, like, when they did the Canadian one, I thought the girls they had on there did a nice job. I think it's better to have commentary than to have just nothing but, watching on
Yeah.
your own. Did they prove that in the NFL? Didn't they do a week where they didn't have anybody commentating on the football games and then nobody liked it?
Oh, I don't remember that actually.
Well, I don't know. It was probably like 15, 20 years ago, but that was after people are used to hearing, somebody commentate on the dart match. Now, commentating isn't easy, because you have to constantly talk about what's going on, but then you get
But
on
then-
these tangents, right?
Right,
And
and everything changes so quickly. You
Yeah.
you can't be
And,
can't be long. You can't be long-winded,
well, yeah.
which is tough for you.
I mean, yes. And it's kind of, you have to fit everything around what's really going on and still, talk about what's really going on. But then you got to fill in the lulls and fill in the gaps and everything.
Right.
So, and, Collins never worked with me. Collins, had like one conversation in Dayton with me that I'm sure he would rather forget. And then I'm not sure.
And all of a sudden, you're in the booth with him.
all of a sudden I'm sitting next to him and we're like, teenagers over a 2-straw malted. I mean, it was just sort of like, and he did really well, I thought. And there was a lot of, we got the back and forth, and so we did I think we did 4 matches. We did the women's final, we did both men's semis, and we did the men's final.
Right.
And some of the players heard it, and that was what I was really worried about. I was worried about I would say something that one of the players would object to. And like Ralph McCool won one of the semis and didn't make it through the final, but Darren shot lights out in the final. Missed a
Spoiler
nine-darter.
alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Said he enjoyed it and stuff. He's got a new nickname now, Chew Dat. So if you guys watch the
Who?
men's semifinal, Ralph McCool.
Ralph McCool, that Chew Dat?
Chew Dat. Like True Dat. True Dat.
Yeah.
He's Chew Dat because he was like munching on gum. I've never seen him chew gum when he plays. I just never noticed because usually I'm behind him when we're playing doubles, right? And he's like chomping on that gum and he's firing them in there. I mean, it was a great match. Him and Jason Brandon went down to the deciding leg in the semi, and they both played well. They were averaging over 90 for the, except for the last like leg and a half. They kind of, they dropped off a little bit. But it was like a lot of fun to do the commentary. So, I mean, we haven't like really said anything about this, but we're going to go down to the Caribbean Cup in Tampa next summer, and we're going to commentate on the Caribbean Cup, and they're going to stream it online and stuff. So that's why I was saying this is kind of a proof
Are we
of
bringing Mr.
concept.
Cosell with us?
No, you are. You're coming.
Oh, I'm coming.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
so
right.
that's why you're going to have to listen.
No,
You're
I
going to
know.
have to outdo Colin.
I was just
but-
kidding.
Well, no, I mean it's like, I'm sure there are people that can do it better than us, but it isn't so much that it's like somebody needs to do it. Somebody needs to step
Right.
up and do this stuff. Somebody needs to step up and run first class tournaments. Well, we had people do it. I thought it was a great success, and Anthony Eugenia and Peter Cetera, your buddy, Jeff Good, who's now in Chicago. I'm going to leave somebody off, so everybody forgive me. Sharon Butler, did I say her?
No, not yet.
David Irete, John Bones Ronholm, you know him. Colin. There was this dude EJ who like isn't really a player. He's actually like works on TV. And they're running around trying to do like a first class TV
Who was
production.
doing the camera? Because the camera actually wasn't that bad when
No.
I was watching the women's match.
Yeah,
they were,
he's
they were
kinda
trying to
zooming
show
in.
the board. They were
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to show the scoreboard.
David Irete was like doing the camera work in the dart hall while his buddy EJ was in the other room with like this huge like
Okay.
thing with buttons and lights and all these like little things so he could like put the graphics up and put the score up and then go to widescreen and then go to split screen and then go to Dave's camera, which is sometimes looking at the players, and he was trying to track the reactions and stuff. He went around and did like a tour of the hall. He did like these little interviews. They didn't have a staff where they could actually do replays and show you a 1080
Right.
and that stuff, right? I mean, they don't have a budget for that. I mean, the PDC spends, I don't know, $100,000 an event to put this stuff on, and these guys, shoestring budget. Everybody's doing like triple duty, and you guys can see for yourself, how it's not 100% perfect, but for what they had to work with, I was amazed.
It was still really good.
And these guys busted their butts like for like a day and a half. They came in, because the one guy got like stuck at LAX when somebody called in a gun threat right when some woman was like crashing her van into something,
Nice.
and they like shut down 3 terminals. So this guy was supposed to set stuff up, and come in late Friday. He didn't come in until Saturday. So these guys are like literally set everything up, and we gave them a chance to kind of test out and work out the kinks, when me and Danny were playing, and they ran the thing. There's got to be 12 hours of matches up on live stream for everybody to watch
Yeah.
over and over.
Well, that's
if
what I
you
watched
like.
it from
So-
too. I agree. You go on there and it looks really good.
Yeah, but getting back to this challenge thing, I mean, can you imagine every tournament, has a board that they're streaming, and there's one kind of Saturday afternoon feature match.
That's
like the
right.
Saturday,
That's what I was
All
gonna
right, so
say.
it was me and Danny, and some people would rather not see us play. I don't care. But every tournament you go to, I guarantee you, I can identify a feature match that will be compelling, if only because it's these two guys playing each other. So we were like kicking around names, right? Because, if you're going to be going to these different tournaments and doing it, there's regional appeal, right? And it doesn't have to be like a grudge match. I mean, I think a good exhibit of sportsmanship is
Yeah.
good. And Danny was a great sport. I mean, to do all that talking and then, come up as short as he did, he was pretty gracious. And,
Right, but you're also talking about, you're going to stream the main, events at the end, but
Well, yeah,
to
you're
have
gonna-
it's like a filler event that you can promote and have a good time with.
Well, what they did in Nashville was, they would just pull matches and throw them on stage. I don't know if they were streaming them or not, but at least, you know, they were matches that, you know, as people walk by, they could watch. So you take the matches that are like the most appealing. There were like some incredible rough first round matches. I mean, wait till you see the results. Wait till you see like the caliber of player in the consolation round for this thing. I mean, this was like a bloodbath on a whole different level, this tournament. And wow, it was great. I mean, everything was great. The entire concept, you know, I mean, they had the first one in Dayton. It was new to everybody, right? So they had to, you know, work out some kinks and how they were going to do everything in that. Then they had the second one in New Orleans. They streamed that and everything. That was a whole weird production for them because they were in completely separate places, and
Right.
and they couldn't get the venue that they were going to do the streaming. They couldn't get in time, so they couldn't stream like they did in New Orleans because they didn't have the room to set up. Because they wanted to have this big stage and everything for the final, and the final ended up, you know, looking really well, but they could only stream like, you know, what was it, the women and the men or something. So this time it was much easier. Everybody's kind of used to what they're doing, and you know, now it's really starting to click.
Plus, now
Now
they know
it's-
really what they need.
Oh,
like
hey,
for
let
a
me
venue,
tell you.
they know what they need.
Anybody who missed this tournament really ought to be kicking themselves. Really ought to be kicking themselves. And they had consolation matches they were streaming too. I mean, it was like,
Yeah, I know, Ralph. I didn't want to correct him. I knew he misspoke, but I just
did I
let him go.
misspeak about what?
You said New Orleans for number 2, and then New Orleans again.
Oh, Vegas
But
was number
Vegas
2.
was number
Thank
2,
you.
but
Smartest chat room
I
in the
didn't-
business.
I didn't want to. He was just going, so I didn't want to stop him.
Well, so anyway, I think that if we can continue doing this, it's just going to get better and better and better and better.
Right.
Now, the
Well,
way
we talked about that after the first one.
yeah.
That we knew. I mean, there has to be some things tweaked, but you
Well,
know,
sure.
you always
I mean,
know that.
Yeah, but the idea, you know, all the players ended up being pretty happy. I mean, I only heard, I think, 2 complaints all weekend. And I've been to tournaments where people just come to me and they're like, Steve, did you see what they just did? And hey, Steve, it's like, I'm kind of like I become the complaint desk because of the show or something.
Right.
There were only 2 complaints. And, you know, one of them was conceptual, right? Which was like what they did was they random drew the round robin people into the main draw instead of like, you know, if you finish first in this group, instead of like doing some sort of a seeding thing.
Yeah.
Right? Which is okay. That's what they said they would do, and that's what they did. I don't like it, but, you know, you got to do something, you know, right? I mean, when you're in round robin groups and you're all playing different people, I mean, how are you going to decide who's the number 1 seed out of all your round robin
Right.
groups? You got to go through the groups and rank them 1 through 10 or something. I mean, there's no perfect way to do it. So I'm not a big fan of random anything, but they did it that way. And
How about
and
randomly taking a break?
Let's take a break. All right.
We're on the half.
Remember where we are. Okay. We'll be right back. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mark and Steve. We'll be right back.
You are now and forevermore warned that you consume this show at your own risk, and that Dart Talk cannot be brought to justice in any court or by any government, including and not restricted to the grand spaghetti monster of the Triple 20.
Okay, thanks for that. Welcome back for the second half. Dart Talk brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. Thanks for the kind words in the chat room on the commentary. I just enjoyed the heck out of it. I just thought it was great. Can I tell you? That's
No, it's
how
good.
roll.
I mean, it sounded good.
I enjoyed myself doing that as much as I've enjoyed anything in the last few years. That was just so much fun. It was just great. I'm really stoked about the Caribbean Cup now. I'm
Well, so
really
now
like,
the only problem
this is
is
going to be awesome.
The only other than that, but the only problem
Dragging
is
you
is-
down there is the problem,
No,
probably. But.
well, yeah, that too. But the next NWDS series, you don't want to be commentating, but
Well, yeah, and that was the thing. I mean,
You know,
because
it's like-
originally,
it's a catch-22.
Yeah. Originally, I told them that I'd be happy to do it, but I'm going to try to
plan
win.
on- right? Yeah.
And in Vegas, I made it all the way into the semis.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I lost to Darren, I wasn't really in the mood until they were halfway through the final, and then it was too late. So, so that's the bad thing is I have to get knocked out to do
Right.
the commentary. So we don't like that, do we?
I did like your comment though that after Cosell gave the results of the Darren Young Gary Mawson match.
Yeah. Well.
You said something. You said something like, now my day is getting even worse. Or
Well, yeah.
or-
It's only because you underperform. That's
Yeah.
the one thing. I mean, if you everybody needs to see the Ralph McCool Jason Brandon match.
Well, the
Right.
point is it's just like everything else. It's like when you lose, it's like a small consolation as long as they go on to win, and it's mentally. You're like, well, at least they beat him, and then at least they went to the finals, as opposed to,
Well,
I could have had.
yeah.
In every sport, it's like that too.
Right.
That's what your comment was like. It was
Well,
like, oh, well.
yeah. Well, and then as it turned out, Gary had Darren cold and blew it.
Oh, really?
I mean, like I heard one guy told me he missed 13 match starts.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Ooh.
13? That's a lot. Mm-hmm. So, and I talked to Darren about it. And Darren's like, oh, yeah, I was packing my bags. I was done. And it's one of those things that, I've talked to my beloved about, which is like try to stay off awkward outs if at all possible. So I would try to tell her, you have to learn to hit that fat dart because you don't want to end up on 7 or something. And what happened to Mawson? He set up 28, probably for a very good reason, whiffed on it, and then hit it inside. Now he's on 14, and now he's on, now it's a fat 7, and now it's on 3.
Yeah.
That
happened a lot in the women's match.
Well, yeah, and, it was funny. Robin Curry was on 5. Like, I lost count how many times she was on 5. Eventually, she parked one and at a real good time, but... And I think I said during the commentary, that's the funny thing about pros. The hardest shot to hit is the fat one because you don't practice it. And the second hardest thing to do is to hit these, the little amateur doubles, 1 and 2 and 3, because you don't, generally you're taking care of it before that. If you're playing your game and you leave yourself on 32
never get
or
to
16,
double six.
you don't get to 2 and 1.
Right.
At the very least, you take care of double 4. So it was kind of a funny deal there. But the... What were we talking about before the break?
You said there were 2 complaints. We got done with the first one, but what was the second one?
Well, the other complaint was, I don't know. I would consider it more of an observation. People weren't getting updates, and I went to the powers that be, and they're like, "We have no staff." And I'm looking around. They got one guy literally trying to keep track of
everything that's going on.
16 boards.
Right.
They got another person keeping track of 8 boards, and there's nobody left. And I'm like, well, okay. Well, so, during the commentary, they would bring us, I mean, you really they should have had a camera on the commentary. You'd have laughed at our little, double straw ice cream sundae. And then, at one point, somebody wrote something down on half a napkin and brought it in and said, here you go. Okay, let's read this. I mean, it was really... I thought,
They tried.
Well, we did the best we could, but I mean, at some point, we don't have runners like they did in broadcast news, the girl that runs down and then ducks under the file cabinet. We didn't have that. We don't have a guy there doing, hey, cue up replay 4.
Right.
We did slow motion replay of me, kind of smacking myself in the head for missing 3 clear at 36, but I mean, it will progress from here. If somebody were to take a tape of this Ralph McCool Jason Brandon match and show that to somebody and say, "Look, we did this on our own with nothing. Imagine what you would do if you gave us money for a staff." How could they say no to that? I mean, that's what this whole show. What did we used to play at the beginning of the show all the time? Is I want to see live darts on TV in America. Is that so wrong? I used to play that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm still there, right? And believe me, it doesn't have to be me. I don't. There are interesting matches you could get at any single tournament you name. If you were in Indianapolis, right, you could get Dan Lobby against his kid, or you could get like Adam Kleinfelter, who's like probably one of the top soft tip shots there, against one of the top steel tip shots, right?
Right.
Or in Boston, you could get anybody really, who wants to take on Sawyer, who's the top shots, or some other people that was a great thing about the Brandon Ralph McCool match, the Jason Brandon Ralph McCool match, is because people don't see these guys play. A lot of guys, if they had the means to go to 15, 20, 25 tournaments a year, they'd be names, right? Because there's plenty of guys that have a game,
Right.
but I mean, it's hard to go to all these tournaments. So that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about on the show. And when I say talking about, I mean harping about. Bandwidth warning. Oh, that's a bad thing. And the harping about is going to be, we're going to have to figure out some way to get these big tournaments going where they're longer, they go over more days, but then there's less of them. We have to get away from this thing where there's like 7 different locations for a tour. Let's have 2.
Right.
All right.
Right.
And these NWDS formats, we can always extend them a day. You can always do a double round robin like you did at the Golden Harvest. Right? All the players love this stuff. It's the perfect format. Everybody plays, and everybody plays a lot, and no matter how bad you play in a round robin, you have a whack Sunday. The only so the only other complaint was that people weren't getting updates.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
okay. We don't have anybody to do them. But next time maybe they can, get a local person and sit them in front of a laptop and say, "Here, do this,
Right.
type this, do this, whatever." I mean, there's
regardless,
there's
complaints-
ways to do stuff, but I mean, you have to prioritize. The first priority
Sure.
for these guys was running a first class tournament.
Yeah.
And they succeeded. So everything else is like, well, yeah,
But
it's great you wanted
complaints like that
updates,
are
but-
good
Yeah, well,
because they're just they add suggestions on how to make it better. Now, that not saying that you'll be able to fix that by the next one, but eventually down the road, you're talking about that those are things that are on the the bucket list to fix.
yeah, it also shows that there's interest out there.
Exactly.
People want to know what's
Right.
going on. That's why this streaming's so important. And that's why, the fact that you now have product that you can show players, and there were great matches. The women's final between Robin Curry and Shea Reynolds, which I think I characterized as like, kind of the veteran professional finisher versus like the streaky power scorer lady.
Right.
Or I don't remember what I said. I have to listen to the tapes and see, how many times I misspoke. I think the over-under is going to be like 50. But I found that match compelling, right? In a number of
I
ways.
tend to
now that I
misspeak
think
every
about
time
it
we do
now.
the show.
Well, I mean, it's you've got the older veteran player against kind of the younger player, because Shea's, way younger than Robin.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can, showcase, a match. And it's like, if you did a challenge like this Delfino match that we did, and you promote it
Yeah, no, I agree.
before
that-
the tournament,
right.
I think it generates more interest overall. There's thousands of views already.
Sparter said you could even try and make it, like a money match for charity.
Yeah, you could do lots of things. I
You
mean,
know?
the idea is to promote here. The idea is to, and there are plenty of people. I mean, there are matches I would like to see, right? Like if you were playing like in Alabama, you could have Roger Carter play Larry Butler. They're the only 2 guys that have really done like super well overseas. Or you could get Larry Butler against John Kramer. Or you could get, any, like Darren Young against Jimmy Widmer next year somewhere. Since they're the 2 guys that are, Jimmy's going to Lakeside, Darren's going to the PDC, let them play some long format. All this long format stuff makes you a better player. No one left New Orleans that played in this tournament that didn't leave a better player than they were when they walked
Right.
in, and that includes Darren. right? That includes everybody who played. Everybody's a better player. Ralph's in the chat room. You ask him, are you not a better player now? Just from the experience that you had and playing in front of cameras, which was kind of a little funky.
New.
A little funky. There's like little microphones and funny lights and all this stuff. And they're dealing with the noise from commentators. You're worried about what people are going to say about you. And they get on with it. And they played great. Mm-hmm. If nobody should, like, not watch. I don't know. Everybody should see this match between Ralph and Jason. It's exactly what darts is about. And they're two guys that know each other. They're both kind of from Tennessee, Alabama, whatever, that kind of area, right? There's an hour and a half apart, 2 hours apart, whatever.
Right.
So they've played each other before, so they were comfortable playing each other. And they just banged the board, and it went right down to a deciding leg. And unfortunately for Jason, he missed a whack at a double. And, Ralph took care of that. But great scoring, great compelling darts and two different styles, right? And the final was the same way with Ralph against Darren. Darren's like basically, been the dominant player. But, Ralph's one of these guys where if he played as often and everywhere like Darren does and had time to practice and stuff, as much as Darren has time, I'd be curious to see how it turned out.
Right.
But all that experience, you look at Darren, like how many times he's been over to the PDC. Now, 4 or 5 years in a row, I guarantee you Darren's going to do better this year than he ever has. And part of the reason is because of the North American Championship Tour and all the long format 01 he's been able to play against the best players in North America all year.
Yeah.
He's going to be the beneficiary of this. And the better Darren does, because, I'll root for him because the better Darren does, and, to some extent, Jim Widmer too, the better these guys do and the better they make American darts look, the more likely it is that we're going to be able to attract the kind of sponsorship that we need to put on.
To get it on TV.
Yeah, well, this is the first step. We've got it on the internet, and we've got it looking good. Obviously, it was not like a professional Monday Night Football broadcast and everything, but, nobody shelled out, $250,000 to do it and have had, announcers that make like, $500,000 a year.
Right.
How much does Al Michaels make?
Oh, God, who knows?
Too much. Kind of what I'm thinking. So it was great. So we'll take our last break.
Yeah.
We'll come back. We'll run down the results. We'll talk about that stuff and whatever else I forgot to cover. So you're listening to Dart Talk with Steve and Mark. We'll be right back.
Dart Talk agrees to adhere to the Geneva Convention in treating fairly its prisoners in their war against lackluster darting administration and behaviour.
Okay. Whoops. Okay, fourth quarter brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. Just a reminder now, if you want to share out the show or tell people how to find it, just send them to darttalk.us. We're going to start getting people on the website and stuff. Right now, there's just links to everything on there, but old shows, audio-only shows, it's all up on that page. You can find it, make it easier for people because not everybody's that technical. So, I do have people saying, how do I hear the show and stuff like that. So, Dart Talk US, that's where you go.
Just Google it?
All right, you could Google it or just type it in your browser.
All right.
Darttalk.us, and it'll take you there. And
there you go.
The links are there. All that's up there right now is links, but we're working on it.
Okay.
So give me a break. Let's do some results. I had them
Sweet.
here that I could almost read them. And then, something happened. So what do we got here? In the that's the women's 01 doubles. That's the men's 01 doubles. That's the luck of the draw. That's the other bottom half luck of the draw. Okay, that's a logo. So, okay, let's start with the luck of the draw. This was what, Friday night?
Friday, yeah. November 22nd.
And all I have are last names here. So, Lorraine Simon and Eric Gregory beat Norman Maddow and somebody named Castaneda. I don't know who that is. And then, okay. Wow, I'm really messing this up. What is this? The men's 01 doubles. Let's see. Top four was Danny Baggish and Soldier Gates, Shane Meeks and Joe Matea. Second place went to Ram and Alex. Ram Guevara and Alex Reyes. Mm-hmm. And the winners were Conley Litton and Bob Seneve, which I believe was the first time they ever played together.
Wow.
So that must have been pretty good.
Bob's been coming back from...
Yeah, he had a tough year health-wise.
Health problems.
He
hasn't been in the winner's circle in a while, I don't think.
Well, the guy can still play.
Yeah.
It was funny, I warmed up with him some on Sunday, and the guy couldn't miss. And I'm like, "You still going?" He's like, "Well, I'm waiting for the consolation." And I'm like,
Really?
He's like, "Oh, I play terrible." I'm like, "Oh, well, you ain't playing terrible now." There were some great first-round matches. I mean, Pat Hewitt beat Danny Baggish, and Danny Delfino's like, "Hey, the guy averaged 95. Check it out." Brought the score sheets over. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, wow, that's,
Really good.
It's kind of sad when you lose and you play that well,
Yeah.
but I was going to say that earlier. It's like if you look at Ralph and Jason at the end of their match, I mean, they're both happy. Yeah, sure, 1 won and 1 lost, but the idea was that, you play your best. And then, okay, let the best starts win. One day, it'll be you, and next day, if you're that close, it'll be the other guy. Mm-hmm. But the whole idea that, there's sportsmanship, there's camaraderie, and there's the opportunity to play your best, which is what I've always said on this show, is that it's the tournament director's responsibility to provide the conditions so players can play their best.
Right.
And this tournament, hands down, best that has ever done this. Of course, I said that about Dayton and Vegas, too, but I really believe in this format. I really believe that this is what we should be doing. Mm-hmm. This is going to get more people out to play. Even if, they're not a top-ranked player, it's still great. And you become a better dart player. And it's worth whatever expense it is. Now, we're going to have to figure out, aside from getting these tournaments, condense some and lengthening them so people don't have to buy as much airfare and travel as much. We're going to have to figure out other ways to make it less expensive for players to play. That's not going to be easy.
Right.
You know how the economy is and all this other stuff.
That's never easy.
No, it's never easy, but there are
ways. Get the government involved.
There are ways to do it, and we just have to keep working at it. Eventually, if we ever got real sponsorship, it'd be a lot easier because you could just cut entry fees.
Right.
If you got real sponsorship and you cut entry fees where, everybody saves a couple of $100 on their entry fee, I think that would help. That'd be the first thing. But you're not going to get sponsorship until you show people what you have. Mm-hmm. And that's, we're well on the way to doing that. What do we got here? Women's 01 doubles. Top four was Paula Murphy and Shay Reynolds and Aldridge and Disman. I'm not sure who they are. I don't know everybody on a first-name basis, sadly. Second place went to the Whisper Twins.
Nice.
Robin Curry and Callie West. And the winners were Holly Frary and Lisa Ayres. So congrats to them. That was the women's 0-1 doubles. Now, the men's consolation bracket, I mean, I can't read all that. So let's go with the women's 0-1. Top 8, Lisa
Okay.
Ayres, Liz Tynan, Holly Frary, and Donna Murillo. Donna Murillo, champion of her round robin, or had the best winning percentage of the women in the round robin.
Liz
Top
Tynan
8.
with a good showing.
Yeah, good showing. I think she lost to Paula Murphy, and you're the 8th seed and you make top 8. You defended your seed, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't get a chance to see Liz play. I talked to her a little bit, played some 121 with her, and she's one of these players that if she went out on the road more,
Well, and it
You
seems
know?
to be she's doing that now.
well, she's gotten out more than she ever has before.
Yeah.
I mean, we're Liz Tynan fans. She's from around here, and we know her really well, and she's a heck of a player.
Yeah.
And it's one of these things where you have to get out. You got to get some tournaments under your belt. You got to get experience playing players better than you so you can raise the level of your game and hopefully become inspired.
Right.
So you work at it, right? You have to give players somewhere to go so they will work at getting there. Otherwise, you got just having fun. Nothing wrong with having fun, but it doesn't grow a sport.
Yeah. Right.
That doesn't grow a sport, right?
I
So,
agree.
okay, what do we got? Top 4 was Callie West and Paula Murphy. Shay Reynolds, runner-up to Robin Curry. Great women's final. Really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it was good.
Thought it was awesome.
Great finish.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing like finishing on a 107.
107.
Took out a 124.
Yeah.
Shay took out
107 when she's out at she was at like 56 or something,
yeah.
I think.
Oh, yeah. Under pressure.
Yeah.
And then, Shay's over there, took out a ton, going like single 20, double top.
Yep.
First class starts.
Yeah.
First class starts. Great showing by the ladies. For the men in the consolation, let's see. Top 8 was John Beard, Danny Baggish, Pat Hewitt, and Donnie Joe. Top 4 was Soldier Gates and Alex Reyes. Second place, Bob Seneve, and the winner was Dieter Schutz. In the women's consolation, top 8, Lorraine Simon, Jamie Pacoda, Renee Maury, and Jill Hutchinson. Top 4, Gloria Gutierrez and Trish Jones. Second place, Yvonne Torres. And the winner was Tammy Kasperzik. That is for the women's
Consolation.
consolation. Now, where's the men? Where's the men's reel? Okay, the men's top 8 in the main event. Top 8 for the men in the main event. Gary Mawson, Chris White, Dan Olson, and Larry Butler. That's a pretty awesome lineup. Top 4, Jason Brandon and Ram Guevara, who is from Houston, I learned. Second place, Ralph McCool, and the winner was Darren Young. They actually had a...
Which nobody knew that.
yeah, well, maybe some people tuned in late.
Okay.
The funny thing was they had a $15,000 prize for throwing a 9-darter, and Darren threw 7 straight triples and missed the 8th.
Ooh.
He said he flighted it out. I'm like, no, Darren. No. You didn't flight it out. You shorted it. It was on its way down, and it kind of like clipped his flight, and he missed like an inch short. It was
Yeah.
not a deflection. It's the only he probably had 3 bad shots the whole game. He played stellar, averaged over 90, I think. Great final. Did we do the men's consolation? We did. Didn't
Yes.
we?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the results
Of a great tournament.
of a fantastic tournament. Just fantastic tournament. And, having it in New Orleans, we got to go to the French Quarter and stuff.
Right.
And again,
How was your overall trip? That was the first time you ever been to New Orleans.
New Orleans is fantastic.
Isn't it? It's great. I love
we
New
went out.
Orleans.
We went out Sunday night. I don't even know how to describe this. And, obviously, are we over? We're probably over.
No, not yet, I don't think.
We're close.
Well.
Anyway, so just to wrap this up, it's Sunday night. All the darts are over. So Jill and I, share a cab with Ralph McCool and his lovely lady, Cynthia. And we're going to go to the Quarter. They want to hear some music, but we're hungry. So we go to some place, and they're like, that's got supposedly great food. And they're like, oh, sorry, kitchen's closed, but that place across the street is pretty good. So we go over there. I don't even know what I had, but it was awesome. I can't remember what it was. The food in New Orleans is fantastic.
It's great. Yeah.
The third base, which was the bar we went to, doesn't serve food, but the guy next door does, and he delivers it over. So I had a cheeseburger po' boy. that
Oh,
was so
nice.
good. I just wanted to pick it up and smear it on my face. I mean, it was just awesome.
Yeah.
So okay, so we're in the right next to the French Quarter on some street, Christopher Street, whatever it was, not Christopher Street, whatever it was, right next to wherever Decatur turns into when you're out of the French
I
Quarter.
don't know the city that well.
It's like 2 blocks. It's kind of like Lincoln Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go in, and these people are okay. There's a band, but they're not up there. And I go up there because we're not sure. I should stay, go, whatever. And it's late, on a Sunday night. So it's kind of the last set. We got to catch a band somewhere. So I go up there, and there's like 12 microphones set up on this huge stage, and I'm like, I see a tuba. I see another tuba. I see like the stand up, and I'm like, what is this? Like a marching band or something? So, we eventually sit down, and these guys come up.
Was somebody playing the washboard?
No, they didn't have a washboard.
No?
They had a snare drum. They had like the, bass drum.
Yeah.
And then they had like 3 cornets, 2 saxophones, 3 trombones, 2 French horns, a turtle dove,
partridge in
and
a pear
partridge
tree.
in a pear tree. And these guys just blasted this stuff. Ralph's like, what music is this? I'm like, I don't even know what you call it, but it was really cool. I started like doing these goofy dancing and stuff. I mean, I had like the
It was
best
Cajun.
time.
It was Cajun music.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Zydeco. It was just brass.
Yeah.
It was like just brass music. I don't even know. It wasn't blues. It wasn't jazz. It wasn't rock. I don't know what it was, but it was great. The Rebirth Revival Band or something. If you guys are ever,
All right.
go on the internet and listen to them. I mean, it was just something I'd never heard before, and we had a huge kick. And Jill and I don't think we've ever been to a music club. Usually we go to play darts and the music is too loud, but we didn't have to
Yeah.
play, so we could actually enjoy the music. So it was great. And then we went to some other place and sat down, and it was just great times. The French Quarter is literally. So George Hams is driving us. We gotta stop the show. George Hams is, but just this was funny. George Hams is driving us to the French Quarter, and somebody calls him up on the phone, and he's talking about the French Quarter, and he's like, "Well, I heard it was like really run down," and Jill and I look at each other. I was like, "Well, that's the charm. It's like 150 years old.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
exactly.
not like a mall in the middle of I don't know, Pleasantville.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just thought the French Quarter was awesome.
Did you go to
We
the
found-
graveyards?
We didn't have time for the graveyards.
Oh.
We drove by them, and I was like, we should go do the one where you like, do
Yeah,
the
it's
vampire
pretty
thing
cool.
or whatever. We didn't have time for that. But we found the place with the best muffalettas. We went to Central Grocery and got like the original muffaletta thing, which is sort of like a sub with olive salad on top with extra
Okay.
virgin olive oil. Oh, to die for. Eventually, we did wander into Cafe Le Monde at like 2 in the morning, and I'm like, wow, this is sort of like, the Golden Nugget at Broadway and Belmont. It's
Yeah.
like all these kids and need a bath, It was awesome. All these street people and stuff. We wandered into some local place, get the lowdown, this, that, and the other thing. It was just awesome. The people are great. People are great. The food's great. The hotel, sadly, was a very, $33 cab ride from the Quarter. So it's kind of going back and forth from the Quarter was like, oh, geez, that's no good. If we could have, that's the only way to improve this tournament is if they would have actually had it in the French Quarter. It would have literally been the end of the world. No one would have left. Everybody would have like started asking, Sharon Butler to print up their resume and see if they can
Right.
get a job because it would have just been so awesome. No, it was great. Next week we'll have results from the Buckeye.
All right.
Great tournament. I always like going there. It was really sad that it was the same weekend as this. I don't know how many Ohio people would have been there, but, would have been great. The more the merrier. It was 13 people from San Angelo, Texas at this thing.
Oh, really?
They all had a great time. They all had a great time. I mean, all we have to do is figure out, we need to cut down dates. We need to have less dates, but longer tournaments, and then somehow lower the expense to the players.
Right.
We got to figure out that's job one. From that's all I could take from this tournament. It was a great time. Those guys did a great job, and they deserve everyone's gratitude. It's always a thankless job to run a tournament, but this tournament in particular, a lot of times it's the local volunteers live there. These people had to fly cross country. You got people coming from both coasts and from the Midwest to come down to New Orleans and run this tournament. I mean, it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They did a great job. So
Well, and
Hats off
I
to
think
them.
it's overall positive reaction by everybody, so that's good.
I thought so. All the players I talked to had smiles on their faces, just like Dayton. I mean, the players love this format. Anybody who's like criticizing it that hasn't played in one are missing out. They're just missing out, and some people choose to live their life in ignorance. We can't educate everybody, but we'll do one at a time.
But we'll try.
We'll do one at a time. We're gonna keep supporting what we think's worthy of support, right? As a show, and we don't really have an agenda, but we want live darts on TV in America. Is that so wrong, right?
I don't think that's wrong.
Anyway, thanks everybody in the chat room and listening to the podcast and stuff like that. Don't forget Dart Talk US. You can point your friends to that for links to everything. You can always Facebook us. You can email us, darttalk@gmail.com. Thanks again for sending the stats to the challenge match.
Yeah.
Quote of the week, Danny Delfino. They interviewed him in between sessions, right? We'll end on this. They interview him between sessions, and I'm up 6-1, right? So he's talking to the camera. He's like, 6-1? I'm only down a few breaks. I got this.
Nice.
Liar.
Well, at least he's power of positive thinking.
Hey, the guy showed a lot of class in he was a good sport about everything. Obviously, it didn't go his way, and he didn't play his very best. And, I know he's disappointed about that, but, I'm sure we'll see him again down the road. Anyway, thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll stick around for the after party. One more thing.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Right, it's our Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy holidays to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Everybody, safe travels if you're going anywhere, and enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, and just we'll be back next week, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, and I guarantee a major rant.
Okay.
I saw some stuff before the show,
look
and I'm
forward
like,
to that.
I'll have to look at it. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a major rant next week. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll Dart Talk to you next week. Everybody take care.